Staying with The Guardian now for an interesting story of how perhaps not all gender recognition certificates are equal. Leo, what's this?
Well, yeah, so the UK is reviewing its gender recognition list, and they say it risks a trans travel ban. So a lot of countries around the world, Australia, New Zealand, now Scotland as well. Scotland has passed this thing. They basically made it so you can just self-declare your gender. So I can just say, hey, I'm a woman, and then
You told me you're a woman the other day.
Yeah, I'm gender fluid.
I'm more than a woman, actually.
Oh, are you? This
More
is
than
good
a
because
woman
we're
to
seeking
me.
diversity on the panel, and you've both achieved it.
Yeah.
But this is weird. Like, who is it who came up with this phrase, trans travel ban? Because it's the most ridiculous...
The LGBTIQ plus rights guy did. I read about it here in the article. His name is quoted here.
It's not a
Somebody in The Guardian.
It's not a trans travel ban. The whole point is that...
Mr. McFarlane came up with it. That's his name.
Well, Mr. McFarlane is an idiot because, like, the whole point of this, it's a measure to protect women from people self-identifying and exploiting that loophole. That's the point of this. Like, the Scottish system now is obviously going to be open to those who want to exploit it,
Like
obviously.
me. I'm definitely going to exploit it.
So why should someone who gets a gender recognition certificate in your country be allowed to use that to get into women's spaces in this country? That doesn't seem fair at all.
Exactly, and it's the same with a driving licence. Similar, you've got to pass a test and satisfy an examiner that you can drive. Whereas, Scotland would just make it, you don't have to satisfy anybody that you've changed your gender. You just need to just say, hey, look, I can drive now. I can drive a car. It's like, well, now there's a big pile-up in the motorway.
Scott, this is constantly framed as like, these reactionary people who are suggesting that trans people are predators. No one's saying that. What they're saying is that there are men who will lie about who and what they are to get access to vulnerable women. And, men do that a lot.
I wish the media would not use it as such a weapon, though, to sell papers, because really most of the trans community, I would imagine, in this country, in the US definitely, and in the world, would rather just live their lives.
Of course, absolutely.
Not be seen as a symbol either way.
But I don't think it's the newspaper's fault. I think it's these politicians and activists who aren't trans, or aren't trans as we know
Mr.
them.
McFarlane.
Yeah, they're big lumpy blokes a lot of the times. They want to. They're sort of subsuming themselves into the trans movement, but they're not really. Transgender people, by and large, pass pretty much, and everybody respects them as the gender that they're living as.
It's confusing because we used to call them transsexuals.
Yeah,
and these were people who went through horrible, painful surgery, incredible measures, really difficult. It's not an easy life to live.
Yeah.
And they did all this stuff, but now the trans umbrella has become so broad.
Which might be a good thing in a way, because, when I was first coming out in the 80s, the 1880s, it was difficult. It was difficult for trans people to find any sort of acceptance, and even in San Francisco, and definitely on a comedy or performance stage. And they were definitely shunned by their own LGBT community, because a lot of lesbians and gay men felt like, well, these people shouldn't adopt this gender if they haven't suffered through it as children.
But
So I like now that young people don't see a difference.
But I don't think it helps trans people when you conflate those people who suffer from genuine gender dysphoria with male fetishists who get off on wearing a dress, which is what's happening.
But then what it should be left to, this is why the Scottish law bothers me, it should be left to a psychiatrist to talk to this person and see that there should be some sort of criteria.
But that's
it is a government policy that needs criteria.
That's what we're saying, and what we're saying is that the Scottish government has said, "No, we don't need that."
I know,
You can just say anything, because no predatory man has ever lied to a woman.
Nicola Sturgeon's going to be Nick Sturgeon soon. I think that's what this is all about.
Oh, is that what it is? Maybe it is.